happy Valentine's Day. I know it's a couple days early, but today is our Valentine's class. And so we are going to celebrate it by we'll be making a very sweet fudge. Maybe instead of eating it all, we can give it to a Valentine, someone we care about a lot. And then we have some cards that we can make together. We're going to stamp and make some art, some Valentine's art. We're gonna get started, so I want to make sure you've got everything that you have from the kits, or if you're doing your recipe from home, that you have some strawberries, and we're gonna be able to taste some, but we're gonna need to use them. So, and then we'll need a knife to cut them. And I see some folks have their cutting boards ready, so that's good. We've got some butter, and if you've had time to let it melt a little bit or soften, if you left it in the microwave for too long and it's fully melted, that's okay. Totally fine. We have some powdered sugar. And if you have vanilla, great. If not, it's okay. And then you probably have parchment paper and like a pan or a tray to put it in for later, because we're going to put that into the fridge when we're done with our fudge. So really, this is just a recipe for it's a 2-ingredient recipe for strawberry fudge, but we're making one of the ingredients. We're going to make strawberry frosting, and then we're going to mix it with melted white chocolate chips. So you could really go and cheat and buy the strawberry frosting, but that's no good. We want the homemade stuff. We know what's in it, and it's going to taste so much better. So we're going to get started with the strawberries. And we want to cut these strawberries into kind of small pieces, because we're going to put them in a bowl and we're going to smash them up with a fork. So if you've got your strawberries, one of the things to keep in mind is we don't want to eat the green part. I don't think it'll hurt us, but it's not going to taste very good. So we're going to cut that off. And when you're cutting, make sure that you're doing it on a cutting board and you're keeping your fingers away. And let's remind ourselves that even though there's going to be yummy strawberry on our knives, we do not want to lick our knives, because it might seem like a good idea, but then we don't have any tongues. And we need our tongues to talk and to taste things, and then we sound funny. So we need to keep our tongues around. Let's not lick our knives. And you're gonna just cut into, depending what kind of knife you have, you might have to saw it. If it's got little teeth in there, they if you see little things in your knives, those are called serrated knives. And that helps with sawing things down. And so parents, you may wanna help your kids with this if they're smaller. If the bigger kids, they know what they're doing. They'll be good. I'm cutting mine into really small pieces because it'll make it easier to smash them with a fork. And I'm just going to put them into a sturdy cereal bowl, because that'll help when I'm trying to smash them. You can have a couple bites of these strawberries too. So we're just going to say that this fudge is healthy for us because it's strawberries in it. Just going to go ahead and say that. And I gave you, I think, around 3 sort of big strawberries. We might not need them all. What we're going to be needing is about 1/4 cup of the strawberries once they're mashed. So you may have some left over. And I gave some extra powdered sugar too, so we don't have to be completely exact on our measurements. So I've got my strawberries in the bowl, and I'm just going to take the back of my fork and I'm going to smash them down. You could use a food processor, but I like to have chunks of strawberries. And sometimes if you use a food processor, it gets it all so ground into a liquid that it'll still be good, but I like to have the chunks of strawberries in there. So I'm just going around the bowl and kind of just smashing them down like I'm trying to make baby food or something. And make sure you take a taste of them. So I gave you enough for a little taste. You might even only need 2 of the strawberries. So you're gonna have kind of a mixture of liquid and smashed strawberry pieces. Parents, you might need to help because it might be a little tiring. That's why we're only making a little. Mine's getting nice and smashed up here. And you can eyeball it, or if you've got a 1/4 cup measurement, you can pour that into your 1/4 cup measurement. Like I said, it's going to be maybe, you probably won't need all of your strawberries. So I've got some left, and I've got about a 1/4 cup here. And I'm going to put that into a mixing bowl. And then you can eat those strawberries. You can put them on yogurt or something. That might be good later. We have our strawberries in a bowl, mixing bowl ready to go for our next step. How do they taste? Good? Good. Okay. So now we have our strawberries. We're going to add our melted butter, our softened butter. And we're going to stir that in with our strawberries. So like I said, it could be completely melted. If it's all melted, that's okay. Softened's good. So this is adding some creaminess to our frosting. And like I said, we're making our frosting first, and then we're going to mix our melted chocolate in with it. So I'm going to switch to a spoon now. Just going to mix that together a little bit. It'll mix more once we put in our powdered sugar. If you have some vanilla, we're just going to use a drop of vanilla. If you don't have it, no biggie. Not hardly even a measurement. It's just like a drop. You can smell it. Make sure you have a little taste of that butter too. See how creamy it is. Sometimes we use butter on toast or things like that, but it brings a nice creaminess to our recipes too. And there's a little bit of fat in there, but we won't tell anybody. So we've got our vanilla and our butter and our strawberries. And we're going to add some powdered sugar. And we can just add a little bit of a time, because depending on how mashed your strawberries is, how liquidy it is, how much you've eaten of the strawberries, you may need various amounts of the powdered sugar. And if you just use a little at a time, what you're looking for is really the consistency of like frosting that you would put onto a cake. So once you get your powdered sugar, you can have a taste, put your finger in and taste that. Is it nice and sweet? Yeah. This is going to be a nice sweet recipe. Probably something we don't want to eat every day. Well, we might want to eat it, but we probably shouldn't. So you're just going to add powdered sugar in. I gave everybody, I think, about 2 cups of powdered sugar. And you might only need a 1.5 cups of it. So we're going to add in our powdered sugar and stir. And you can also smash while you stir. And you'll see, it will seem like you put in a lot of powdered sugar, but then it's going to all kind of disappear as it gets eaten up by the liquid. So just keep adding your powdered sugar. Mine's still too loose, so I'm gonna add some more. You might make a little bit of a mess, like I just did. It's all right. Might even be easier to stir with your fork because you can smash and go. Now this you can always make if you've got cupcakes or something like that. You could stop at this point and just use it as a frosting. Put it on top of cupcakes or cake. I made a cornbread the other night. I put this on cornbread. That was really good. So you want it kind of big and gloppy. So this is pretty good what I've got here. Something I would spread. A little bit more powdered sugar. You wouldn't think that these small strawberries, that 3 strawberries would be able to make this great little dessert, but that's all you need. And we've got one last ingredient now, and that's our chocolate chips. So if you melted them before class and the chocolate chips seem to be hardening up a little bit, you might nuke them for 10 seconds or something. If you have a chocolate melter and you have them standing by, great. But we're gonna add those chocolate chips. Make sure you have a couple to taste. And I know William had a few already, so we're good there, huh, William? We've got a thumbs up. Are they good? Yeah, okay. And all we're gonna do is mix those melted chocolate or melted white chocolate chips in with our frosting. We're gonna stir it, and then we're gonna put it out onto our parchment paper on top of a plate or a tray, because then that will go into the fridge. Oh, and we can put sprinkles on top too. So I have my melted chocolate. And I'm just gonna stir that in. We just wanna blend it together because what's gonna happen is that these white chocolate chips, as they get cool in the fridge, they're gonna harden up and they're gonna help give that consistency of fudge to our recipe. So I'm just mixing it all together. So a lot of stirring in this recipe today. You'll see the consistency might start to change a little bit. You can tell, and that's just the white chocolate chips. They're starting to cool as they're mixing with the strawberries there. Now that I have it mixed, I'm gonna put it right onto the pan. And I'm just gonna spread it out a little bit. There's really no science to it. Make it as thick as you want. Once it cools, if you have a heart-shaped cookie cutter or something, you could cut out heart shapes. You could actually make it into the shape of a heart now if you wanted to, but we're gonna move on to our art portion of class in a minute. So if you're gonna make a heart, make it quick. So I'm gonna use a spatula to kind of just spread it out a little bit. not going to spread anymore in the fridge. So however you leave it, it's just going to cool and harden a little bit. And then once it's cool and hardened, like you said, you could cut heart shapes out of it, or you could just cut it into squares. It'll still be a little sticky, but trust me, it's going to be so good. I don't have mine in any fancy way. I just spread it out a little bit. And if you want to throw some sprinkles on there, you can. I would maybe take a pinch of them and put them on, or just pour a few on at a time. They'll stick on top now that before it cools. What do we think? Is it good? Just need small pieces because it's so sweet, isn't it? But it's Valentine's Day. It's time for sweet treats. And pink sweet treats are the best things to eat on Valentine's Day. I'm going to move mine aside here. If you want to throw yours in the fridge or put it in the fridge after class, you can do that. If you have any questions, let me know. Looks like everybody's pretty much on track now for us to move on to the art portion. Super. This out of the way. Now, if you have a tray, it might be useful to contain some of the mess. But you should have some celery. And did you know that we were saving the celery for this, the art portion? We're not even going to eat the celery. We've got the healthy stuff. We're not going to eat the healthy stuff. We're just going to use it for stamping. We use the sweet stuff for what we're going to eat. All right. So you should have, what I gave you in your bags is a paper plate, a little container of paint, of red paint. This is tempera paint, so it is washable, but you want to wash it out of clothes before you put it in the washer. Or better yet, just wear something to cover yourself. You should have a marker. Now, if you have other things at home, like other color markers or crayons, you can use those too. And then I gave you some paper, and any of these you can fold into cards or make artwork with them. And these little trays I get from like the dollar store. They're kind of nice to have if you don't want to use your baking trays for art trays. They're just great little trays to have around. That way you can contain your mess. So we're going to put some of our paint onto our paper plate. Pour some onto your paper plate. And then your celery you've got, there will be a cut end. Some of you got the ends of celery, so that's going to be obvious which end to use. Some you may have like uneven ends. So you just want to find the straightest edge. And if they've been jostled around a little bit, you might need to push them down just so you know you have a flat edge. And this is what we're going to use for our stamp. I'm going to show you a couple other stamp ideas that we can do. But for today, when we're making our artwork, we're going to start with this celery. So what I usually do is I put the end of my celery, my flat end that I'm going to stamp with, and I sort of just make sure there's just a little bit of paint on there. If you have a big glop of paint, you're not going to see all the details, and it might take a couple tries. But what you're going to end up doing is stamping down, and it's going to look kind of like a flower. And you can use our green marker. You can wait till it dries. And put little green leaves around your flowers. But we can do our flower stamps. Another if you like the idea of using veggies to stamp with, you can use, if you have bok choy, if you ever cut bok choy, they look so much like flowers. They're beautiful. But I love the celery. So you can go around and you can even like make a bouquet of flowers on your card. And they're just going to be pretty. Or if you want to use your paper, like I said, but if it's not too gloppy, you'll see more of the details. You can make artwork where it's just all flowers around. You can write Happy Valentine's Day. If you have other crayons or colors, you could put your flowers down at the bottom and make a sky and do a whole picture. You like my little card? So other things you can use to stamp, and I put this on the note there, is you could use a paper towel roll. I'll show you a little trick. If you get a paper towel roll, cut it into like a handheld size. You can make the end into a heart shape. And you can use that as a stamp. You could also use corks. I'm sure many of you've got corks out. Use those and make little circles or turn those into flowers. You could use Legos as a stamp. You could use cars as a stamp and rev them, especially the cars with the little like tread on the bottom. So I'm going to, there we go. You guys want to take yourselves off of mute. Let me know what you think. I want to see everybody's artwork. Or if you have questions. Looks like everybody's doing a good job with the stamping.
Okay, you're off mute. You want to show it to me?
Oh, those look great.
Hold it up.
Good job. Jackson, I see yours. That looked good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're being
beautiful.
silly now.
Yeah, you know what? I saw some red hands. You can even do a handprint. You make a red handprint. That could be fun. It's just a little messy. So yeah, so you can spend all day making some more art if you want. And think about who you're going to give that to. For Valentine's Day, we want to tell everybody how much we care about them, so they might love a picture from you.
It might be, but it's also not.
These look so good. And in about an hour or so, maybe a little bit longer, you could check on your fudge, cut off a piece and taste it. I mean, it'll taste good now, it'll taste good later. So cut it into pieces and use it and eat it later.
Well, it actually takes a while.
So I want to thank you all for joining me. Next week, we're going to do a Not Your Mama's PBJ smoothie. We're going to use sun butter for a smoothie next week. We'll need our blenders. But thank you. Look at the red hands. I love it. Thank you for doing class. I hope you guys had fun.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Valentine's Day, guys.
Bye. Happy Valentine's Day.
Bye.
Bye.
We do that color. What's your